Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Education USA Thursday live session, and a warm welcome to those who have joined us here at the American Center and those who are joining us through Facebook and YouTube channel. At the background, I hope you're all seeing a very festive mood that's set up here. Yesterday, we celebrated Student Visa Day. The Student Visa Day is celebrated to build that strong ties between Indian students and the American, of course. And the Student Visa Day is basically meant for celebrating the students who have got their visas approved and they are heading their journey towards US universities. The Student Visa celebration is like an annual event for us, so every year we celebrate this, and we hope some of you would join us next year to be a part of this celebration. As part of our Thursday live sessions, today we are having an information session on US student visa, and this is our third session for the fall 2019 season. And of course, this is going to be the last session as well for this fall 2019 season. So I request all of you to make use of this session and ask as many relevant questions as possible so that we would be happy to answer you. Today we have with us Ms. Sarah Straney, and she's our Vice Consul, and she will be delivering this information session and also answering all your queries on F1 student visa. I wish all of you a good luck, and let's go ahead with Sarah and start.
Thank you so much, Shelby. Hi, my name's Sarah Straney, and I'm a consular officer here at the Consulate. I'm really excited to be here today to talk with you guys about student visas. So I'd love to get a sense of just sort of where everyone is in the application process. So has anyone here already applied to schools? Show of hands? Yes? Okay. Has anyone gotten accepted yet? Okay. Congratulations. And how many of you are applying for undergraduate? You? Okay, great. And are the rest graduate? Graduate? Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Is anyone applying for a visa that's not an F visa? Do we have any M's or J's? No? Okay, great, great, thank you. So first, some facts and figures that you may already know. So the United States has a long history of welcoming international students to our universities. More than 1 million international students are studying in the United States. And one thing that makes us at the Consulate here very happy is that 1 out of every 6 international students is from India. It's approaching 1 out of every 5 students. My dad's actually a professor at the University of Maryland, and most of his grad students are actually from India. His last grad student was from Chennai itself. So it's nice seeing all of the students from India in the United States. So one thing that really makes the US education system stand out is its diversity. So both diversity in universities itself and diversities of schools. So in US universities, you really have people from all different backgrounds. You have international students from all over the world. You just have people who are at different places in their lives who, for whatever reason, have decided to study for that degree. So it makes it a really dynamic, really rich learning environment. And I think you really get it. I went to undergrad and grad school myself in the United States, and I found that it really made for a great environment to learn from not only my professors, but also from the other students. So there's also a diversity of education in the United States. So we have a ton of different universities. There's small liberal arts colleges, there's big research universities. So there's really something for everyone, whatever your research interests are, whatever sort of your climate preferences are, whether you want to sort of stick with what you know, go to school in maybe Florida, Southern California, or if you're ready to try the snow, Boston, Michigan. There's really schools that can meet whatever you're looking for. And there's lots of great reasons to choose a lot of great different schools. So that makes the first step in applying for a US visa maybe a little bit daunting. So the first step is to select, apply, and be accepted at a US university. So it sounds like a lot of you have already gotten to this step, which is great, but if any of you are still thinking about that or still in this stage, I would definitely consider speaking to Education USA for assistance finding the right university for you. So again, there's lots of different universities, lots of different reasons to pick different universities, and Education USA can help you sort of narrow down that process and help you understand the application process. So once you pick your school, you apply to your schools, once you get accepted, your school will give you an I-20. So an F1 visa is specific to the university. You may get accepted to a bunch of different schools, but you should pick the one that you plan on going to and apply with that I-20, because the name of your school is going to be printed on your visa, and for sort of better processing at the border, you really do need to be going to the school that the name of the school is on your visa. Let's see. So when should you apply for your visa? So the sooner the better, but also you can't receive your visa more than 120 days before your report date. You're not going to be admitted into the US more than 30 days before your report date. So once you get your I-20, you should look at what time you're supposed to be at the school, make sure that you fit into these dates and that this sort of works with your plan, and then try to get a visa interview as soon as possible. We do understand that sometimes I-20s come out, sometimes our waiting times are long. We do try to work with students with that to make sure that everyone does get a visa interview in time. But generally, once you get your I-20, you really should be looking to try to get a visa interview as long as you fit within these dates. So for the visa application process, so first you'll want to log on to ustraveldocs.com/India for the US visa process. This will help you with the sort of forms you need to fill out and what you'll need. So for the F1 visa, you will need to pay your service fee. So you'll go to this website, and it's in all the handouts, and you'll pay the fee. So you do need to pay your fee before you come to the interview. If something doesn't go through, if something sort of weird happens, you come to the interview, you haven't paid your fee, we can't give you your visa until you pay that fee. So please do make sure you pay that before you come to your interview. So before you go to your interview, you should bring these mandatory documents. So your appointment letter, a valid passport, barcode page of the visa application form, your service receipt, and for F1s and M1s, your I-20s, and if anyone's a J, you'll bring your DS 2019. So these are the only mandatory documents. If there are more documents that you think will help your case, or you think you would like to bring just to sort of have on you in case you need to reference it, those are fine to bring, but these are the only ones that you actually need. So on the day of the interview, arrive at the U.S. Consulate on time for your appointment. I know at some point in the past, people who arrived early were let in earlier. That's not the case anymore, so please do arrive on time. I know you may be excited, but if you arrive early, all that's going to happen is you're going to have to wait for longer. So don't arrive more than 5 minutes early. Also, don't arrive late. We may not be able to accommodate you then. So there's no facility at the consulate to store prohibited items, so please do plan accordingly. So you can't bring any electronic items, so mobile phones or backpacks, so please do plan for that and know that there isn't any place that we can store them at the consulate. Okay, so has anyone done a US visa interview before? Yes, you? Okay. So some of you have an idea of how it goes, but you'll wait. You'll go through a couple different people who will check your documents, who will recheck your fingerprints, and then finally you'll get into the final line where you'll wait to come up to a visa interview window where you'll talk to one of me or my colleagues about your plans in the United States. So the interview will be brief. There's sort of, you'll be standing up, you'll be talking to the officer through a glass plate at the window. There's microphones. Please be sure to speak into the microphone so we can make sure to hear you. So the officer might not look at your documents. The officer will take your passport and your I-20. They're probably not going to ask for any other documents. Again, you're welcome to bring any other documents you want in case you think they might be helpful, in case it makes you feel better to carry them, but just be prepared that you may not be asked for them. So the officer will ask you personal questions. We do need to know a lot of detailed information about your plans, about your intentions, so do be prepared to have quite a detailed conversation about your life and about your plans. So we are adjudicating you and adjudicating students based on your fit for the category visa. So an F1 is a student non-immigrant visa. So we're looking to make sure that you are a credible student and a credible non-immigrant. So if you're a credible student, you need to essentially fulfill two categories. So your primary purpose of travel is to study, and you have a plan to pay for your studies. So generally, I would think about it as a conversation. Maybe the night before, sit down, think about, how you got to this point. It's something really exciting that you guys are going to do. You're going to spend another couple of years of your life in a new country, studying something exciting. I'm sure all of you have put a lot of thought into it. I'm sure, once you get to this point, maybe you haven't really gone back and reflected on exactly how you got to that point. But I think it could be helpful to, just sit down and sort of think about the process, think about what you did, how you made those decisions, because that's really what you're going to talk about with the officer. You're going to talk about your decision to study in the United States, why you decided to choose this particular school, and what you're going to do with it afterwards. Again, I don't want to say there's no right or wrong answers. There are wrong answers if your primary purpose is not to study, but there's lots of different reasons for why you might want to study in the United States, why you might pick a particular school. And so what we're really interested in hearing is about your particular reasons. So again, think about a conversation about something really exciting that you're going to be doing, not so much as like a test or something you have to memorize the right answers for. So second, we do need to see that you have a plan to pay for your studies. Again, this isn't something that we generally need to see a lot of documents for, but you should have a good idea about how you're going to pay for this. On the I-90, there's generally, we can see how much it costs, and so do know, how you're going to pay for it. For some of the younger students, if someone is paying for your education, that's fine, but I would also advise just having an idea of knowing how they're going to pay. General ideas about whoever's going to pay for your educations, know what their salary is, know if they're paying from savings or exactly how that's working. Okay. Back a little. So second, this is a non-immigrant visa category. So you will talk with your officer about, your plans to return to India after studying in the United States. It's really exciting seeing how many alumni of different schools have returned to India and are studying and are doing really exciting things there. I went to Georgetown for grad school. My first week in Chennai, I ran into 2 or 3 people who had studied there a little bit before me and then had come back to Chennai. So it's great to be able to talk about, what you plan to do in India after you complete your studies. So what next? So there's one of 3 options after you finish your interview, which again is probably not going to be more than 5 minutes. Okay. So you could be approved. So if you're approved, you'll get a bluish green sheet that will have instructions on how you're going to get your visa and passport back. The officer will keep your passport. That's how we put the visa inside. And you should get it back within a week or so. So once you get that green-blue piece of paper, you are done. You can go home. Your visa has been approved. You will eventually get it. Go home and celebrate. So the second option is if you are denied under 214B. So 214B means that you do not overcome immigrant intent. So this means that this application has been finished. You have been refused under this application. So you are welcome to reapply if you think you have new information that will be able to help the officer see that you don't have immigrant intent. However, at this time, it is on the applicant to show the officer that they do not have immigrant intent. So that's your responsibility to prove to the officer that you don't have the intent to immigrate. So that will be, if you get a refusal under 214B, you'll be given your passport back and you'll be given a white slip of paper that will explain that decision in more detail. So the third option is administrative processing, which you'll be refused under 221G. So this is sort of a pause on your application. This may mean that we may need more documentation from you. It may mean that we need to do some things on the back end. You'll also get a sheet of paper that explains exactly what we need from you if we do need something, or just that it is paused for administrative processing. So if you turn in all the documents to us, you won't have to reapply, you won't have to repay the new fee. You'll just have to turn in whatever we ask for or wait until we take care of the things that we need to. So unfortunately, there's no great timeline that I can give you for how long this takes. Sometimes it's very quick, sometimes it does need more time. I will say if we do ask for documents from you, the quicker you get them to us, the quicker we can continue processing the visa. But we will give you a tracking number that you can use to track your visa online. We do ask that you don't call the embassy, but use sort of the electronic modes of keeping in touch about your application. In any of those cases, your visa application is done. Your visa interview will be done. You'll be able to go home. And if you have any visa questions, there's a lot of resources online that you can visit. There's usatraveldocs.com/India. There's resources for studying the United States. Of course, you can ask them here. Questions about visa inquiries can be emailed right here. We have a great social media on which this is being streamed. And let's see. Okay, with that, does anyone have any questions? Oh, yes.
Do we have a port of entry restriction when?
I don't believe you will.
Restriction, like I got admitted into the Arizona State University.
Mhm.
Can I enter to New York?
Yes. Sorry, the question was, will there be a port of entry restriction? No, there won't be a port of entry restriction. You should be planning to go to Arizona State from New York and have be able to explain that at the port of entry, but there won't be a restriction on exactly where you can enter. Any other questions?
So you talked about the application being withheld, right, the last one.
Mhm.
So what are the circumstances under which that happens? Like, is there any particular case or something which can discuss with us?
It happens for a variety of reasons. I would say if that happens, don't worry about it. It happens for, again, a variety of fairly mundane reasons. And generally it's one of the first two, but again, I wouldn't worry about it if it was the
I have a few questions from the
Mhm.
online audience. Maybe I'll read them
Yes.
out. This is from a person, Alisha Shah.
Mhm.
I have a question. I have sufficient savings and a loan to cover up for my entire 3 years of education. My father passed away and my mom is a housewife.
Mhm.
Will that situation be a problem in getting a visa?
So I guess I should have said this before, but I really can't comment on individual circumstances, individual questions about visas. Generally, I would say if you have the funds to cover your education, just be prepared to discuss that and be prepared to answer any questions that you think the visa officer might have about those circumstances.
Another question from G. Krishnan. Would it help if an auditor's certificate of assets held by the parents of the applicant, or if they have a bank loan approved at the time of application, would it improve their chances of getting visa?
So again, I can't really talk about individual cases, individual documents. Again, bank documents are not required documents. It's very likely that the officer will not ask to look at them. I would advise you to concentrate less on the documentation, more about understanding how exactly you're going to pay for school.
So there is the general question from the students usually, especially those who are going for undergraduate studies. The question they ask us is, should we have liquid funds for 4 years of our education? Or if we have a plan, and would that be enough for me to qualify for a visa?
So you should be able to pay for 1 year of education right there, but you should have a plan to be able to pay for the full 4 years of education. I think there's a question over here.
In case of pre-application after denial based on 214B, so do I have to go through the entire process again, pre-applying for a visa?
You don't have to reapply for your school, but you do have to, if you're rejected under 214B, you do have to go through the whole process again. Thank you for that question.
Could you probably share that as an input to the online audience as well, like what
yes.
should they do for a refusal or a denial?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. So the question was, if you're refused under 214B, do you have to go through the entire process again? And the answer is you don't have to reapply to schools again, but you do have to go through the whole visa application process again with the associated fees and applications.
So now this visa, interview dates have a longer waiting period. Suppose a student is completing their 10 printing by, let's say, by tomorrow, 14th or 15th, and their visa interview date is in the month of July 15th. Is there a way that after completing their fingerprinting, can they reschedule the date of the interview to an earlier date if that is available?
So we do understand that our wait times are not always conducive to the sort of the student visa timeline. If you have any concerns about being able to get your visa in time, if you want to talk about potentially being able to move up your visa interview date, I would email our embassy contact. I can give that contact information out at the end of this. Yes.
From the 214B that you have to give in case you reject, are there any other reasons why a candidate might be rejected?
So generally, you're either rejected under 214B or.
Which is basically if you are unable to convince the officer that you do not intend to become an immigrant in the U.S.
So if you don't suit the category, so you need to prove that you're a credible student and that you're a non-immigrant. So if you don't satisfy those two categories, you will be rejected under 214B. So the question was, what the circumstances you will happen? What are the circumstances under which you'll be rejected under 214B? And that's if you don't meet the criteria of being a credible student and a credible non-immigrant. Yes?
Is there a specific amount of times that you use a specific I-20? Like, in case I reapply, I get rejected the first time, and the second time, can I still go ahead and apply for the same I-20 for the same school?
So the question was, is there a specific amount of time that an I-20 is valid for that you can apply with it? So it needs to be legitimate. So the I-20 will have your starting date on it. So you need to have a legitimate acceptance to a period in which that you are going to. So you can't just keep on reapplying year after year when your starting date says, April 2016. You can't apply with that in 2020. But if you legitimately are able to start on that date, you can apply with that.
This is about a general question on summer programs. So most of the summer programs, if you look at, they are not the typical credit-bearing courses. So there are questions like the students already hold a B1 or B2 visa, and can they just travel with that if it's not a credit-bearing course?
So that's a great question. Thank you for that question. So it really depends on the program. If you have any questions about exactly where the program fits in visa category, I would talk to whoever's sponsoring the program. So the university is really going to be the best resource to know whether it's a program that's acceptable under B1, B2, if it's sort of mostly for recreation, no credits given, it's not a required part of any coursework, or if it's a program that should fall under the F category. So that's, again, a question that you should go back and talk to your university about to make sure you're applying for the appropriate visa category.
An addition to that, suppose the student apply for a F category. These programs are actually not treated as as equivalent to studying in a university. So students do come back to us asking questions about expediting the visa interview process. So maybe the sessions begin somewhere in August 1st, but the visa date that they have got is somewhere in August 15th. Would you consider the cases for summer programs also for such expediting apart from the university program?
So again, if you have any questions about specifically being able to expedite into visa appointment, the embassy contact email that I will give out after this is really the best place to go. They'll be able to sort of assess your needs along with sort of the needs of the pool of applicants who are being interviewed to see if it would be possible to expedite your appointment.
We have a question from WhatsApp. It's from Akash. He has asked, is it necessary to have a parental income for approval?
Okay, that's a good question. So is it necessary to have a parent who's having income? So again, what we don't really care exactly how you're paying for it. It has to be a credible plan to pay for it. So generally you need to know how you're going to pay for it, whether it's through your parents' income, whether it's through savings of your own. So I can't comment on exact cases, but we're just looking for your general overall ability to pay for your program. So you will know if you've been, you will know your visa status the same day. So if you'll know it right after the interview, the officer, for the online audience, the question was, will you know your visa status the same day? Yes. Right after the interview, the officer will tell you whether you've been approved and denied, and under which category you've been denied under. So when you walk away from the visa interview, you will know what the status of your visa is. Any other questions? No. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate getting the opportunity to talk to you all, and I hope you all have great studies in the United States. Thank you.
Yeah, I have some.
Oh, okay, sorry.
think it would help everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. One is like something related to what you spoke about the parental income. And all that. So we oftentimes get this query like, my parents have enough savings and they are supporting my education, but both father and mother, they are retired, but they have had plans for the education and they have saved money. The students are always anxious to know whether parents being retired, is that a negative one for visa getting approved?
Okay, great. Thank you for that question. And again, I can't really comment on any individual circumstances, and there just really isn't, you either have a credible plan to pay for your studies or you don't. There's lots of different ways you can have a credible plan. You should be prepared to talk in some detail about that plan, but there's no one way to pay for your studies.
The next question is on if I'm already having a valid F1 visa. So I went with that F1 visa to a school. I completed education there, availed a 1-year OPT period in that through that school, and immediately at the end of the OPT period, I got admission into another school for a next level, master's level program. I'm in the process of finishing that. So to keep my visa alive, I've just traveled back to the country, and the visa is valid for next 3 months. Is it a way that when I again apply for the student visa, will my old visa be initially made void and only then a new visa will be issued? Or how does the renewal process basically work? Or is there anything called renewal at all in F1 visa?
Okay, great. That's a great question. So generally, the way the United States sort of government and immigration process works is if you're outside of the United States and you are looking to go to the United States, you'll contact your consulate. You'll go for a visa interview. We will be your point of contact. If you're inside the United States, maybe you're studying there, you want to go to another school, USCIS will be who you will contact in order to adjust status, in order to figure out what paperwork you need in order to have the correct paperwork to be in the United States. So if you do decide to do another master's program, and then if you leave the United States to come back to India, and if there isn't enough time on your, and if you need another visa, you will come to the consulate for another interview. We'll give you another visa. So you can't have two of the same visa classes valid in your passport at the same time. So we will cancel your initial visa if there's still some validity on it. That doesn't mean anything. It's nothing negative. You will have a new visa that you will be able to enter the United States on that will be new. It'll have your new university on it. There's nothing bad about having a visa that's canceled. It's just we can't have two valid visas of the same class in a passport at the same time.
There's one more question about the student traveled on a G4 visa, that is as a dependent with the parents, and completed 3 years of his undergrad there, and now I think he's getting into the 4th year of education. So when he turned 21, I think he cannot be a dependent anymore. So they had gone to USCIS, and his status was converted from a G4 to F1 student. So they had issued a notice, and which clearly describes it's not a visa, it's just a document. So now the student has to come back to his country of origin, and should he apply for an F1 visa, or can he complete his education, which is just another 6 more months, and then can he come back to India and apply for a F1 visa?
So I would say for specific questions like that, I can't really comment on like specifics of cases. I would say please do contact the U.S. consulate, and they'll be able to better help you with sort of exact details of specific cases.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
What about the
Yes.
mail ID you said you would give
I'm sorry?
in case of queries that relate to expediting the data?
I'm so sorry, I didn't catch
Mail ID, you said you will give the contact mail ID.
Oh, yes. Let's see. So I have, over here. We have, so there's information about, should be back. Yes, let's see. So if you have any visa inquiries, who you want to email is support.india@ustraveldocs.com, and they'll be able to help you with any questions that you might have. No. Okay, so that question was, if I hold a valid B1, B2 visa, and then I get another F1 visa, will my visa be canceled? And the answer is no. You can't have 2 visas of the same class. You can have many visas of different classes.
I have one more question.
Mhm.
It's again about education loans.
Mhm.
The student is asking if taking an education loan would be a red flag, or would be a red flag in the process. Would that affect their visa?
So again, I can't talk about sort of specifics or whether one thing would be better than another, but generally do have a plan to talk about exactly how you're going to pay for your education and be able to discuss it with the officer. Any last questions? Yes.
When I'm on an F1 visa in the US, if I want to go on a tour, say to Europe, can I do that? Is that permitted?
Yes. Yes. So the question was, if you want to go on tour to Europe, is that permitted? Yes, you can leave the United States. You need to make sure your visa is valid for coming back, and obviously that you have sort of the right visas to go to Europe, but that's permitted.
Any more questions?
No? Okay. Well then again, thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to talk to you all, and best of luck.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing all the good details with everybody who have gathered here. And to conclude the session, I have few information that I would like to share with all of you. First of all, good luck with your visa interviews. I'm sure all of you will do well and get your visas. On July 12th, Friday, we are having a pre-departure orientation session, which is basically meant for students who are heading for their fall 2019 session at the US universities. This pre-departure orientation will give you information about academic experience, cultural experience, the do's and don'ts for a F1 student, and also you get to know a lot of things about or hear from the students who are currently in the US, and they will be joining you for a discussion and so on and so forth. We strongly recommend that the students who are heading this year, please do come for the pre-departure orientation session, so that can give you a clear idea on how your student life at US is going to be. So it's good to be always prepared. I mean, many of you will have a lot of questions like, how do I enroll for my class? Is it necessary that I should carry my books with me? Or anything, including your accommodation or travel plans, what to pack and what not to take, and so on and so forth. So we encourage that you please do come for the session, and the registration links, I think most of you have already registered through that for your visa session, so you could also share that information with your friends. Apart from that, Education USA keep conducting this sort of live sessions for the benefit of students. If you have friends who are planning to attend the fall 2020 session, please do encourage them to come over for our sessions, and our 2020 season will begin from next week onwards. So our next presentation will be on timeline for US University application process, where we help students understand how they should plan for applying to a US university, so you don't really miss the bus, right? I'm sure some of you do have your experiences of missing the deadlines, or what would you really advise for the students who are going for the next year. So stay in touch with us. Even after going to US, you can still be in connect with us by sending your experiences by pictures or quotes, or even you can write articles for us, which we would try publishing in the newspapers as well. So the student experience at any time is always welcome. So stay connected with educationusa.state.gov. And those who are going to start your journey for the fall 2020, we have launched our Education USA India mobile app, which was just yesterday. So please do visit the Apple or the Android store to download your Education USA India mobile app, and that gives you the guidance on right from researching about universities, financing your education, completing your application, student visa process, and also about pre-departure. And beyond that, we are always here at your disposal. Please do connect with your nearest Education USA Center or the advisor to get the official source of information on US higher education. Thank you everybody for joining us.